some really exciting things have been happening for the projects on screen in the last 7 days. Guys, I'm really excited to be sharing this video with you and updating you on all the important things that are happening. Ultimately, as we know with Quant Network, the writing is on the wall, so therefore we can start to make informed decisions about where these projects will be going ultimately in the next bull run. Now, guys, I've got 2 other projects besides the one on screen that you're going to enjoy today, so without further ado, let's just waste no time and get straight into it. In the news, first of all, we have Hedera Hashgraph. Hedera's got some 2 really important bits of news today I want to share with you guys. And the number one thing so far is Joggit, right? So Joggit is a company itself that focuses on no to low code applications, right? Which means that anyone can pretty much come on, or someone with limited coding experience can create applications. But they've partnered with Hedera to launch the Hashgraph Application Studio, a no-code platform for decentralized applications. And let me just read you out a few little extracts from the announcement here, and then kind of wrap into like what this ultimately means and why this is actually some really, really big news, okay? So they mentioned here on June 6, 2022, it was not June 6, 2023, okay? Joggit incorporated an open source no-code / low-code platform company today launched the new Hedera Hashgraph Application Studio. Now, this new innovation simplifies the creation of decentralized applications, therefore heralding a more streamlined experience within the Hedera ecosystem. So what this really does mean is someone, again, with limited knowledge in this world that just has a very creative brain, right? They can come on and now create decentralized applications, which is so important, not just for Web3 developers, but also Web2 developers wanting to create applications on a network they might deem really good, or at least better than most. And that, in my opinion, is Hedera, and therefore this is going to blow the ecosystem up. So I'm really, really excited this partnership actually happened, and we're going to definitely see results from this, okay? The Hashgraph Application Studio marks a notable step towards making the Hedera ecosystem as accessible as possible for builders in Web3. Now, enabling users to build applications with limited technical background, we hope to empower teams from across the globe to leverage the power of the Hashgraph and unlock the true potential of DLT. This came from the head of FinTech and Payments at the HBAR Foundation, okay? Now, the Hashgraph Application Studio enables or empowers businesses to visually develop dApps, propelling the evolution of business applications and dApps in the Hedera ecosystem to unprecedented levels. So yeah, as I've kind of just already summarized, it's some pretty important stuff, guys. It's like the framework, right? When you're building a house, the most exciting thing to sometimes see is the frame or the base and the walls being put in, and the rest kind of is built around that. That's exactly what's happening right here, okay? We haven't yet seen the fruits of the labor, but it'll definitely come. Now, we've actually got 2 bits of news today for Hedera. These guys have just popping off, as you should all know. So last week, Karate Combat, the first league to transition to a DAO governance, launched its iOS app on Hedera with the Karate token. So yes, Karate Combat, some of you might know it. I haven't heard of it before the news, but they're actually a big up-and-coming sort of like MMA-esque combat, right? So combat sport. Now, they're actually really doing really well, right? Now, as you can see down here, they're actually doing some really cool visual effects with their fights, which I love, okay? So let me just read on and let's summarize it again, okay? So Karate Combat is one of the fastest growing sports leagues in the world. Recent events have seen, guess what, 10 million plus views across their channels, in turn exposing the world to Hedera. Now, this was a snapshot from one of their shows, and as you can see, they have that sort of cool metaverse-esque feel in the background, and look what's up in the top right-hand corner there, built on Hedera. And again, this is a real match, right? This is a real physical match, just obviously the background was artificially, put in there. So it's some really, really big things. We can see the actual thread here, the tweet from Karate Combat themselves. They've pretty much created the app is called Up Only Gaming, and anyone that holds the Karate tokens, again, that's on Hedera, can actually participate in this and, vote on who's going to win without much losses, apparently. We come down here, we can see they have increasing their potential bonus pools and earning extra tokens without any of the risk of losing. So I'm not too sure exactly what that means. I've never bet before on anything, so I'm not going to be the best person to talk to about that, to be honest with you guys. But this is pretty big, right? Because anyone that holds the Karate tokens, especially people that are just Web2 gamblers or people that just like following MMA or these sort of combat sports, they're going to buy those tokens, which is on Hedera, and use them for, in the DAO, right, to vote on upcoming matches and so on and so forth. So yeah, there's some big stuff happening here for Hedera, guys. This is what we like to see for a general purpose layer 1 blockchain. We need to see, or in this case, a hash graph, right? We need to see evolution of, connections and things like that. We want to see it growing and getting better. And in my opinion, first of all, the framework upgrade with Joggit, that's huge. And this also just shows that Hedera is getting out there, more eyes the better. Okay, so let's move on now to some news on Quant Network. Now, we've all heard about the recent Quant news. I've made multiple videos on it. If you haven't caught up to speed with that stuff yet, then please go back and watch those videos. Quant's pretty much announced the biggest news this year, and it just keeps getting better, okay? So they launched their Overledger platform as of today, the 27th, or in this case for us, right, including Gilbert, it's 1 day ahead, 28th, which pretty much means that, as he summarizes here, the same enterprise-grade technology that has underpinned our projects with institutional and central bank customers to date is now accessible rather to large enterprises, SMEs, and developers for the first time. So SMEs, small to medium enterprises, right? So anyone in the private sector now can access the Overledger network, and I've got a video coming out, well, when you're seeing this video, it'll be a few more hours, that pretty much goes over all the possibilities in this case, okay? So yeah, as Gilbert summarizes again down here, this is our way of encouraging mass adoption of a technology that I believe will prove transformational not just to the financial sector, but to the world's economy. And I think he's right. This guy is onto it in Quant Network. They just don't stop. They're pushing and pushing and pushing. This essentially is like their mainnet. So if you guys want something to compare it to, just imagine a protocol like Facebook saying, hey, we're officially out of alpha testing or beta testing, and we're in alpha. We're open source, whatever it might be, fully launched network, right? Or application, whatever it might be. So that's some big news. Next up, we have Polygon Network. So again, we're just not stopping this week with some big news. Okay, so Polygon has actually launched or introduced Polygon 2.0, what they're calling the value layer of the internet. Now, this is some also pretty big stuff here. I've got a little bit to read, but it's coming from the horse's mouth, so it's better than me to summarize it in my opinion. So let's just go ahead and just not waste any time. So they state here, our vision for Polygon is simple, to build the value layer of the internet. Now, I like how they use the upcoming analogy here, right? Just like the internet allows anyone to create and exchange information, okay, the value layer is the fundamental protocol that allows anyone to create, exchange, and program value. So the internet democratizes access to information. The value layer democratizes access to the global economy. So this is interesting here. Let me just finish this paragraph. It enables decentralized finance, digital ownership, mechanisms for coordination, and much more. It is a missing piece of an internet that serves users, not gatekeepers, rent seekers, or middlemen. Polygon 2.0 is our blueprint for building the value layer. It is a set of proposed upgrades that radically reimagine almost every aspect of Polygon, from protocol architecture to tokenomics and governance. So they're actually going after the so-called value layer of the internet, which is much more than I believe what Polygon's pretty much being used for now. Now, let's all admit, Polygon's probably one of the most deep connected networks currently in the space, if not the most connected, probably behind Ripple, right? But they're really going after this whole decentralized financing. They're really going after the massive market, in my opinion, okay? So they pretty much want to become that next layer on the internet, be used for everything, which is interesting to me. And we're going to get into some more news from them in just a second. But yeah, guys, this is kind of insane stuff. Will they be able to do it? I'm not too sure. They're definitely in a good position to do so. It's just not as sexy as a layer 2 scaling solution to be doing this, in my opinion. But again, Ethereum at this stage has kind of pivoted to just simply a settlement layer for layer 2 solution. So we can almost technically see Polygon as its own independent network, using Ethereum as the final resting place for security and transactions, which kind of makes a bit of sense. Let's continue. Over the coming weeks, we will detail each component of Polygon 2.0, addressing topics like the future of the Polygon POS chain, the utility and evolution of the Polygon token, and the transition to greater community governance of the protocol and treasury. Essentially, they're mentioning we will lay out a roadmap for how Polygon will become the value layer of the internet, offering unlimited scalability and unified liquidity via ZK technology. So if they pull this stuff off, yeah, it's just going to blow up in price. We're not seeing nothing yet, right? The low market cap that it is now, relative to where it can go, is just going to be a jaw dropper in the future. We're going to go, why don't we just buy it 30 or 50 cents, whatever it is right now, okay? So this is cool. This is what they're essentially doing here. I like this. Polygon 2.0 is a network of ZK-powered layer 2 chains, unified via a novel consensus chain coordination protocol. For a user, the entire network will feel like using a single chain. The network can support a practically unlimited number of chains, and cross-chain interactions can happen safely and instantly without additional security or trust assumptions, unlimited scalability, and unified liquidity. So this is just pretty much they're sharding their network, essentially. They're just making a whole bunch of ZK-powered layer 2 chains, right? So you're going to have the Polygon main chain that connects directly to Ethereum as a layer 2 solution. Then you have a whole bunch of smaller chains that obviously, spread out scalability, right? Or essentially enable a lot of TPS and demand to happen at the same time, right? So yeah, it's essentially what Ethereum wanted to be, which is interesting. I think what they've done here is seen the Ethereum pivot and gone, we can now become that. what the Ethereum was going to be. So yeah, I think this is pretty big. As you can see down here, there's some important dates to remember. We've already flown past the 19th of June. The next date, well, actually, technically by recording this, we're a 1 day past the 26th of June, okay? So the next is the 10th of July and the 17th of July. But guys, if you are a Polygon investor, just keep your eyes on the prize, because if something important happens, you might want to take profits. And as someone who wants to get in, including myself, it might be a good time, because demand might only be increasing, especially if they continue to come out with more releases throughout 2023 and 2024. Moving into 2025, we can expect a lot more multiples than what we initially did before. Okay, so next up, we have Casper Network, the third last. Now, Casper doesn't really have an amazing sort of announcement, but it's the last 7 days, so we'll give them a break. But it is definitely a step in the right direction, because Casper Swap actually launched on Casper, the first fully audited open source automated market maker DEX on the Casper network. They're using the Uniswap v2 code as kind of its backbone, okay? So it's pretty much just Uniswap v2, just repurposed, upgraded, and done a few extra things added to it, and boom, spat out as a whole new product. We've seen this time and time again with 𝗡cie𝗿𝗡𝗩𝗣𝗡, you name it, right? So yeah, this is a pretty big stuff, because the Casper ecosystem right now is something that I've publicly commented on, and a lot of people do know as lackluster. Okay, it's not really that big right now. There's like 6 current DeFi applications, and they're not even like technically DeFi. They're like NFTs and a whole bunch of other random stuff, right? It's not really DeFi in its true sense in a way. But yeah, it's good to see that Casper is, slowly starting to get its ecosystem under wraps, because essentially Casper is what Ethereum wanted to be, right? So except a lot more enterprise focused. So yeah, I mean, I don't really think that Casper is going to have a huge market for the next maybe at least 3 or 4 years, right? It's going to take a long time for people to want to get into it, unless they have a really incentivizing carrot on the end of the stick, right? So this is one step in the right direction, so I won't kind of knock them on the head for that. Here's all your sort of initial launched liquidity pairs, okay? So most of it is just obviously between CST, which is like the actual token for the Casper swap itself, right? But then you have, your wrapped Casper with BTC, ETH, so on and so forth, okay? So down here we have, if you guys were interested, a community members sort of airdrop, if you will, of this free NFT, if you go ahead and actually follow these steps on your screen now, okay? So you want to screenshot this if you want one of these free NFTs. It's not really something I'm too interested in, because I don't really believe that there's going to be much value there, but hey, it's free NFT, so who knows where that might lead you, okay? So let's move on now to some bigger news, right? We have Ripple. Ripple's again in the headlines. These guys just don't stop as well. They're a bit like HBAR in a way. So it's some big stuff. Essentially, what's happening here is the Ripple net itself is being tested as the implementation for a CBDC, hosted net with the Colombian sort of central bank, okay? So it is a pilot program right now, and it's going to be evaluating high-value payment use cases using the Ripple CBDC platform based on the core tech of the XRP ledger, right? So Ripple, leader in enterprise blockchain and crypto solutions, announced today its collaboration with Colombia's central bank to explore blockchain technology use cases. This is big stuff, guys, right? So if you want to learn a little bit more about this, definitely read this article. I can leave it down below for you. But what I want to kind of get across here as the main point is there is going to be some more information, as they mentioned out here, about how the program is kind of going, right? If it's successful, if it's going well or going not well. So yeah, you guys want to definitely keep on the pulse. As you can see down here, more information will be released later in the year. So it's definitely something to remember, because any time we deal with any sort of economy, right, public to private sectors, there's billions and trillions of dollars being transacted through that. And so to have, especially somewhere like Ripple's ledger, right, collecting all of that data, as long as it can obviously absorb the demand from that, it's going to be huge, right? That's why obviously everyone's buzzing on about Quant right now, because that itself is also some really, really big stuff too. So yeah, again, Ripple's also making some big moves, guys, as we should all know. So take good care. Now, the last bit of news today is from ASTAR Network. Okay, now I'll admit I'm interested in ASTAR because it's a direct competitor to Moonbeam, and if they do the right things, they can definitely outclass Moonbeam. They're definitely doing things that are better than Moonbeam, and some things aren't. So this is massive, right? Kind of like Polygon's coming out with Polygon 2.0. Well, ASTAR's coming out with ASTAR 2.0, building the unstoppable. Okay, a scalable network powering a global Web3 vision for all. Now, what they're doing here is reimagining their direction in tokenomics, the overall direction rather, tokenomics and organization to use Web3 to improve the world and communities, right? So they're focusing on building a better staking application. They're working on ASTAR Link, which is like the interoperability protocol. Now, this is something I'm super interested on, because if they really build out their ASTAR Link, again, how they interconnect with other networks, it actually might be better than Moonbeam, because Moonbeam really does rely on third-party bridges like XLR to facilitate those, cross-network transfers. So if ASTAR can do that, by itself, first party, network to network, that'd be massive. That would really make me very bullish. And they're doing a whole bunch of other things. I'm not too deeply connected with the ASTAR ecosystem. I definitely want to learn more, especially because of this update. So I couldn't give you guys as much value as or opinions, at least, on this upgrade and kind of what they're lacking and what they aren't. But they do mention everything down here a lot better. And they also have this link here, which takes you to their website, which is a lot more interactive and easier to follow. So guys, again, I'll leave this tweet down below. Read the thread. It's very, very informative. And I think, it might make some of you a lot more bullish on ASTAR, especially because they're really attacking the Japanese market. So yeah, I mean, guys, some massive stuff happening this week. Definitely more bullish than other weeks. That's for damn sure. And ultimately, what's the bear market for? A bear market's for building. So these projects are building, which is interesting because a lot of people focus on networks that aren't building just because they sound sexy. And I get it. That's a whole meme. That's why people buy meme coins, because they sound sexy. But if you're someone like myself, a serious, especially long-term investor, you want to look at these sort of things and see there's been building happening, right? And see that there's connections happening in the back end. And whole entire Web2 industries are choosing to use them or adopt them in some capacity. That's good. Even if it is an NFT marketplace, it's a step in the door. Okay, so with that said, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. Guys, stay tuned. In a few hours, I'm coming out with a really interesting video on Quant versus HBAR. I think you're going to want to watch it. Okay, have a good day, guys. Take care. Bye.